I was an infantryman in the United States Army during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. We pushed into Baghdad and then took an airfield just north of the city. Then we headed north up Highway 1. The majority of my unit stayed in Tikrit, Saddam's hometown. My company kept going north towards a huge enemy ammo depot near Beji. We began operating around that area, and then shortly moved to a nearby airfield and set up a more permanent base. The airfield had a residential area that had been abandoned near the end of the runway. It was on post housing for the Iraqi Air Force personnel that ran the base, but they had left way before our arrival. What was strange is that it seems it was abandoned before the invasion. There were pots and pans in the sink. There were clothes on the line, but there was lots of dust all over everything. Looters had been there. They were everywhere during that time, but they left mostly everything. My unit moved into the end of the airfield, into some bombed-out warehouses, and another company moved into the biggest houses. In the abandoned housing area, we started to call the area a ghost town. The other company that took up residence in the ghost town moved out after about a week. I asked one of the very tired-looking soldiers why they did that. I was puzzled that they would move out since everyone was jealous that they lived in actual homes. I was curious about their speedy move. He said that they couldn't sleep. Doors would open and shut all night. They heard footsteps running up and down the halls at night. And then finally they began to see children's faces looking in at them through the windows. The US Army does not function with consideration to ghosts, and for them to get their chain of command to move their whole company out of the ghost town, there must have been some tangible events that affected their operational readiness. Their move meant that now the ghost town became a place where enemies could hide and attack from after dark. So we took up nighttime security every night around our warehouse. We would each do an hour shift, and we had a watch going all night. We had thermal sights and night vision, and we would sit out there scanning the desert for enemy activity. During our watch, we could all hear children laughing and playing all night long. It sounded like a playground was active in the ghost town, but we verified with our thermal sights. It was empty. We often had pebbles thrown at us. We would sit out there, alone or in pairs, and listen to the laughter while getting hit by rocks. Nothing big, but they would bounce off your face, your helmet, your vest, the whole time scanning with thermals and night vision. Nobody there, listening to the laughter. This happened night after night. We all talked about it with each other. Nobody was happy about it, but we sucked it up. In 2004, we had a change of command, and upon hearing about the situation, our new commanding officer said, "There is no supernatural activity in this ghost town, only enemy activity." This was partially true because we had been attacked with sniper fire and RPGs from that direction multiple times. His decision was to set up a nightly patrol and set up ambushes in the ghost town. Every night, we were already busy looking for WMDs during the day and raiding Saddam's Baathists during the night. We had been doing 18, 30, 36-hour patrols. Convoy, security, more patrols, and now this, so it began. My squad had done the new patrol a few times, and it always seemed extra dark when walking through the ghost town. There was an old British fort left over from their colonial days, with firing ports and towers, streets with sidewalks, and pretty decent houses, all empty. While on patrol, we could still hear the kids playing, but it seemed just as faint as when we were on perimeter guard. We would get on a roof, lay there on ambush, and just listen. One night, we were patrolling through the ghost town in a modified wedge formation. One of our soldiers said, "What the hell?" then screamed, "What the hell is that?" He pointed his weapon to the middle of our formation, then dropped his weapon and ran. He ran alone in the dark, unarmed in the middle of a combat zone, away from everyone. Those of us that looked where he pointed saw it. Those of us that looked at the fleeing soldier heard it. Walking with us was a solid shadow, with roughly the shape of a person, tall, with really long arms, skinny legs, and a very narrow torso. It turned its head back and forth as if surprised to be discovered. It bent down, and then it leapt. It landed in a crouch on top of a nearby chain-link fence, still facing us, and moving its head to look at us. Its eyes then quickly flashed red, and then it jumped backwards off the fence and disappeared into the night. We caught up with the soldier. Our squad leader was super pissed. He got roughed up a bit, as he had absolutely lost it, screaming and crying. This soldier was solid. I've personally seen him shoot an enemy at close range. We'd all been through a lot, and we were both confident and competent. What we saw that night was not the scariest thing we had been through that deployment, but the enemy made sense. This creature didn't. It was by far the most disturbing thing I've ever witnessed, as it seemed to have a purpose, keeping pace with us. I learned later from some local translators that it was an Ifreet, a Jinn that can fly and has the strength of 100 men. From that point on, whenever it was our turn to patrol Ghost Town, our squad leader would lead us to just the edge, and we would wait in ambush. I'm sure we all still appreciate that to this day.